Welcome back. The Ballot still on your screens right here on News Central TV. I'm Kofi Bartels.
I'm Dashen Usman. Thank you for staying with us.
Of course, we still have the compliments of Segun Sopitan, who's the chairman, ACT Network, that's Accountability, Candor, and Transparency Network in the studio. And of course, Wale Ogunade, he is a lawyer and president of Voters Awareness Initiative Lagos. And we're joined now via video link by Festus Ogwuche, Chief Festus Ogwuche. He is a lawyer joining us live from the city of Port Harcourt Rivers, but he is also an indigene and indeed a traditional authority in Kogi State. It's great to have you, Festus Ogwuche, join us via video link. Before I come back to our guests, or we come back to our guests in the studio, let's quickly ask you, Chief, for a bit of an analysis from your end of the dynamics at play as far as the politics of Kogi is concerned with this election vis-a-vis the geo-ethnic makeup of Kogi State.
Well, it's not as complex as we are made to represent. And I guess the political diversity is represented also in the ethnic diversity. And that's a very unfortunate aspect of the politics in that area. That it's more of an ethnic thing than aspiration to public office by people that have the capacity. If you look at the build-up to the election, saw a lot of intrigues here and there, violence here and there. It started all the way from 2019, and it's represented in the ideals of a group of orientation to either hold on to power or to grab power by all means, not minding whether their own kinsman who is propagating to occupy those office has the capacity and the capability to deliver the goals. It's more of getting your own man there, whether anybody likes it or not, whether he's suitable for it or not. And it's quite unfortunate that this democratic system has gotten to this very pitiful end. And we expected that, going by the massive problems, the excruciating poverty that has pervaded Kogi State all along, and the fact that bad governance has become the order of the day, one expected that it doesn't matter where anybody comes from, so long as it can deliver the goals. We have the Igalas, we have the Egilas, we have the Kakandas, we have the new pays there. It's a mix-up, a sort of potpourri of the Nigerian setup. You can say, like I told you earlier in the morning when you called me, Kogi State is a microcosm of Nigeria, and it's represented by these political fronts who are notwithstanding that bad governance has always reigned in the affairs of the state, and people are looking forward to a better understanding of what governance really is. A paradigm shift from that philosophy towards a better end of getting the right people in the right positions and not necessarily getting your kinsman into it.
All right. While we wait to reconnect, let's come back to our guest in the studio. I'll come back to you, Segun. Now, we just got an update, a report of the former president of Nigeria, talking about Goodluck Jonathan. He just granted an interview with reporters after voting in Bayelsa State, saying that NAS should block off-season elections, saying that he expressed that concern that if the country continued with off-season elections, that a time would come when the president or the presidential election might become an off-season election too.
Yes, we'll come to that, Dashen. I'm told we have Festus Ogwuche back with us online. Chief Ogwuche, can you hear us, please?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay, you were saying that Kogi State,
hear you loud and clear.
Yes, is a microcosm of Nigeria. So tell us some more about that.
Yes, it's a meringue of sorts. A whole lot of tribal, ethnic entities and groups that are joined together. Of course, the Kogi East is the domineering population, and I was just trying to explain that these ethnic groupings are interrelated. They have a similar cultural and historical antecedents, and you will not expect that simple things as politics and aspirations for power should generate any hostilities amongst them. Over the years, they've lived together peacefully for a long time. The Igalas were one time carved into the old Benue state, but they are returned. Before then, they were all part of the Kwara state, and when Kogi state was created with Lokoja as a capital, no, it was a thing of joy because it is like persons of similar pedigree coming together to form one particular state, and you expect that a lot of values will be entrenched in whatever is regarded as political or whatever is social, going by their historical uniformity. But that's not the case now. What the political elites has succeeded in doing is to implant some bit of lack of confidence and conflict among the ethnic groupings in Kogi State. And I guess, and I very much hope that with time, these similarities will begin to come together.
All right, well, just before we'll try to reconnect with Segun once again, sorry, we'll try to connect with Festus once again, but Segun, I don't know if you still remember the question I asked you. What do you make of the statement by the former president asking NAS to, shut down off-season elections?
President, so I do believe that by virtue of having held that office in the past, he does have access to some information that is driving that opinion, but I disagree with him. In fact, some people have actually argued that we need to move in the exact opposite direction. We need to stop this idea of general elections because we have shown, from evidence of history, including recent history, that we can't manage general elections, that our institutions, INEC in particular, and even the security agencies get overwhelmed when the elections are all held on the same day across the entire country. Remember, Nigeria is huge. We have 973,000 square kilometers of land, also in varying terrain, topology, and what have you. And people
all right,
have
Segun, but he also did, describe the off-season election as odd and not in the interest of best global practice.
I don't agree with him. I think that we can decentralize our elections. I think we should be moving towards decentralization so that INEC and the other agencies and institutions can concentrate their energies on little pockets of elections. What says that we cannot have elections over a 2-week period, for example, across the entire country? That's how it's done in other democracies that we seek to copy. You don't have elections on one single day across, such a wide variety of landmass and what have you. So I think that it's part of the creative thinking that we need to put in to begin to try to solve this problem. What the president is talking about, the former president has spoken about, is basically saying that we should try to go back to doing things the way we've been doing them. And we can see that the results and the outcomes have not really been favoring, the citizenry. So shouldn't we think differently and maybe try something new?
Yeah, Shegu, but Jonathan is not saying that, just as Dashen has said, that you can't elect different people. Different states can't have the elections at different times. He even cited American examples saying that, as well as some other countries, that they elect, different people at different times. But his problem is that everyone that is supposed to be elected should be elected at the same time. So if we're doing elections in a particular place, let's have all the persons who are meant to be elected go and we vote and we elect them. Not some parts of the state you have election this date, another part of the state you have election that date, maybe House of Assembly another date, governor on another date. He doesn't want that to be. Well, he said, and I quote, "It is very odd. It's not a global best practice," just like Dashen said. A country can elect its people at different times, like the American election in some countries. But he says they may not elect everybody at the same time, but the only time they go on to conduct elections, they elect everybody that is supposed to be elected.
Well, I think that while I understand where it's coming from, this situation has been forced upon us by himself and his people, the political class. Because the reason we have this situation is that the elections in themselves, by themselves, have never been resolved at the end of the electoral process. We always have the judiciary having to step in every single election. And that's the result, this is the result of that. So what we have is the judiciary stepping in and having to overturn elections that had been, declared in one direction or the other. And then that creates this staggered series of elections that we now have. I don't think there's anything we can do about that until we have our political class playing the game the way it's supposed to be played. You'll probably see more of this. More states are going to join the 8 states that we currently have off cycle.
All right. Thank you very much. I don't know if we have Festus Ogwuche on the line. Are you there, Festus? Okay, we seem not to have him.
All right. All right, let's go back to you just before we wrap up, Wale Ogunade. Now, we just got information that one of our correspondents in Kogi State was brutalized by the army. And we just want you to briefly speak on this. Now, the role of journalists and other media workers cannot be overemphasized, especially when it comes to providing information about the electoral process. And in this case, the one going on in Bayelsa, Kogi, and also Imo states. Now, how can these law enforcement and security agencies who are tasked with protecting Nigerians adequately protect journalists and other media workers?
I said it here, that Kogi is a very good example. And of course, brutalizing journalists is not a new thing. I have observed it severally whenever they're having election. My only problem is that the security agents, once they've compromised their stand, anybody who wants to stand in the way of their interests, they always do such to them. I just want to bring up, maybe use this opportunity to sound it loud and clear, that the issue of off-cycle election can only be made off or cleared off if we do what we call a constitutional amendment to allow the Electoral Act to allowing a time limit, maybe shifting the elections back by 12 months, so that all issues of petitions and elections going to the tribunal and so on are sorted out. Once they are sorted out, then the person who is taking office will take office, because Section 180 of the 1999 Constitution is clear. The day you are sworn in is the day your 4 years begin to count. And nobody can wish that away. It's the law. It does not matter if you are the president or you are former or current president. Even the Senate president cannot wish that away, except that our Constitution is amended, particularly Section 180. Then the second one, of course, is the Electoral Act. There is a timeline for election. Once the notices have been given, those notices should be shifted maybe 12 months behind. Maybe we want to have election now, maybe in 2026. The elections are held instead of February and March 2027. We have it in 2026. So you give room for all the elections, the petitions, and all the tribunals. Let them go finish everything. Then we know that when somebody is taking office, he's taking office on a clear note. The litigations are all over. Then we'll have a clean slate towards that. If that is not done, then definitely we'll be having off-cycle. Then the advantage to me of off-cycle is like a mock examination. Those of us who were able to sit down for a mock before the main WAEC exam, the mock exam is to test your ability to sit for the main exam. So going around for the general election, the off-cycle will have put INEC on its toes, know where their mistakes are, and they will cover their tracks. And of course, we'll have a good general election. That's my take on that one.
Quite interesting. I think it's safe to say that under Muhammadu Buhari, gentlemen, they recorded some successes as far as the off-cycle elections in some states were concerned, where even some opposition parties won governorship elections. And INEC's conduct was commended, and people looked at that as some hope for the 2023 presidential elections. I think it seems that Nigerians will be passing a verdict on INEC under Tinubu to see if that trend of some improvement and progress in off-cycle elections in Nigeria that was recorded under Buhari will be continued under the Tinubu administration. Gentlemen, thank you very much for your time. Wale Ogunade, lawyer and president, Voters Awareness Initiative right here in Lagos, Nigeria. Segun Sopitan, chairman of Accountability, Candor and Transparency Network. And of course, Chief Festus Ogwuche, lawyer, who joined us via Zoom from Port Harcourt. Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure having you.
To God be the glory.
Thanks for having me.
Right. Dashen?
Yes, with that, all we can say is thank you so much to our viewers for watching. And, the ballot still continues even after, we've left. Thank you so much. It was really nice hanging out with you guys. I remain Dashen Usman. Many thanks for watching.
And I'm Kofi. Bartels. Keep watching News Central TV. Have a good afternoon.